Okay, Sergio is our expert. Everybody's excited about your upcoming presentation and your workshops. That will be on March 22nd. Your presentation, your PowerPoint, and then on the Saturday the 23rd and Sunday the 24th, you'll be doing two workshops with deciduous material. So we're all excited about you coming to Montreal, Sergio.
Super excited as well, David. Thank you for having me there.
Okay. Well, many members of the Société de bonsaï penjing de Montréal don't really know much about your career. After all, you sort of appeared like a comet across the bonsai firmament all of a sudden, and wow, you took us all by surprise with your artistry. So this is wonderful to finally talk with you and let everybody know who you are.
Well, thank you, David. Thank you. And again, I'm excited to not only to come up to Montreal, but also excited to kind of share my bonsai passion with all of you guys.
Okay. Well, I first saw your work at the 4th U.S. National Exhibition in 2014.
Right. Yes.
That was when you presented a wonderful Sharp's Pygmy
right.
maple, and you actually won the award for the finest deciduous bonsai presentation at the exhibition. So congratulations again. It helped maybe that I was a judge, but I think I made a good decision.
Thank you, David.
Okay.
That was a huge surprise. By the way, that was my first probably big exhibit, and it really, because looking at the material that was submitted that year, really high quality as usual at the nationals, and having won that award was really mind blowing for me, honestly. But anyway, it was super exciting.
Okay, now Sergio, I wanted to discuss your background. Your specialty is in art and design. You have a bachelor in fine arts from Pratt Institute in New York City. Isn't that right?
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah, but you describe yourself as a multidisciplinary artist. It means you have your fingers in pretty well a lot of things.
Yeah, I have through I guess my career as a designer slash artist, I have I guess fortunate enough to have worked on a lot of different things, from illustration to design. I just recently I've been working on the branding for a few hotels. So I have been fortunate to kind of I'm a little bit of a mixed bag.
Okay. Well, when the last time we got talking, you were working for Nickelodeon.
Yes, I was.
And now you've changed career paths a little bit from that.
Not so much changed the careers, but I decided last year that I was going to go on my own. So I'm a freelancer consultant now. I still do actually a lot of work for Nickelodeon, but I'm not really not anymore. I'm not a staff employee of Nickelodeon.
Okay. Well, I just found out earlier that you actually designed Mike Hagedorn's new book called Bonsai Heresy. I didn't know that. I know Michael very well, but I didn't know that you collaborated with him.
Yeah, that was a great project. Michael reached out to me, and he asked me if I was interested in illustrating his book, Bonsai Heresy. And of course, no one can say no to Michael Hagedorn. So I took on the task of illustrating the book for him, and it was just wonderful. And Michael is just a wonderful human being. It was really a great experience working with Michael.
What I like about Michael is his crazy laugh. He just
yes, he does.
It's the most spontaneous thing. It's wonderful when he laughs, Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've known him since he was really young. He was 20 years old. Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
my
Well,
goodness. Mhm.
now, you don't live that far from Montreal. You actually live in New Jersey. In fact, I used to drive from my client's house in New York to see Hank Gross, who was in Layton, New Jersey.
Of
And
course.
I would pass practically in front of your house every time.
Yes, yes, Hank. I know Hank well. I know he
Yes.
moved down to North Carolina, but he always talked so fondly of you and your trips to collecting larch and all that stuff. So yeah, so it's back to your point, David. We're not far from each other.
Well, that's good because I know your climate isn't as bad as ours, but still, you know how to grow things in a relatively cold climate, so you
Correct.
can empathize with us.
Absolutely, absolutely. We both have very short growing seasons. I think you guys have even a shorter season, but yes. So I'm very familiar with our climate.
So I want to say that I did go onto your website, and I'm looking for, oh, it's m5 bonsaiworks.com. Okay.
Yes, correct.
And to look at some of your works, and I was very, very impressed. I mean, I saw some of your trees. I saw your Japanese beech forest at the fifth National Bonsai Exhibition in Rochester. Um, it was very, very, very nice. But what I liked, what I found most interesting, was how innovative you were by presenting it on a plexiglass table. Okay. um I was intrigued by it. It's like it's very daring to do that. Tell me about that.
Sure. So I always like to, whenever it's appropriate, right? Not every time, but I from time to time I like to mess with tradition a little bit. I like to try to push the envelope slightly bit. I'm always try to be very mindful of the visual hierarchy whenever you're presenting your work, your trees. The first thing, in my opinion, anyway, that you should see is the bonsai itself. I do think that you know sometimes I've seen exhibits where the last thing that maybe you focus on is the bonsai itself. So I try to push the boundaries a little bit. And I think my intention with that plexiglass is, first of all, from a purely superficial level, I think the contrast between the cold artificial plexiglass material as it was compared to the warmth of the trees, the moss, the soil, and the stone itself. That contrast was something interesting and beautiful to me. And the second thing is I was trying to sort of evoke this sort of island of a forest, right by water, right? But I wanted to do it in a, hopefully in a sort of elegant way that it was not too distracting from the actual bonsai itself. And as always, David, whenever you do that and you do these daring sort of things, you do get some criticism for that, and you get some accolades, but that's what happens, and yeah. So I took a little bit of a risk there.
Well, it's always good to risk. Then in the sixth US National Exhibition in 2018, that was when you presented Athoya occidentalis, which is
Correct.
one of our iconic trees here in
Right.
Quebec. And I was fascinated because that was actually collected by one of my friends and pupils in Vermont. His name
Really?
his name is Rod Larrow. Rod is still alive, and he he collected all of those thoyas, those cedars, on Grand Isle, which he says he can't do anymore because it's all built up now. Where he used to collect, people have built
Wow.
homes,
That's
and
super interesting, David. I did not know that.
oh, I'm just a useless fount of information. Yeah.
No, very
Um,
useful.
but what I was impressed about was you said you had let it grow out in 2017, and a year later, it was so beautifully refined that I was super impressed. So you did a really great job of wiring. Where did you learn to wire like that, Sergio?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for the feedback, David. Means a lot, certainly. Where did I learn? You know, so I would say, fair to say that I'm mostly self-taught, for better or for worse. Do I wish that I had done an apprenticeship in Japan? Yes, but you know, life gets in the way, and your life is what it is, and for me, it was not something that I could do. So a lot of the learnings that I've done was really, and this may be surprising to folks, but it's through YouTube. YouTube nowadays is such a fountain of incredible information. There's a lot of misinformation as well, but a lot of the techniques and things like that I learned through doing YouTube, and then of course, as you know, practice, practice, practice.
Well, I tell my students that if there's one thing I find they can't learn on YouTube is how to wire correctly. I am constantly making them take off the wire and put it on back on correctly, or I
Yes.
cut it off. So yeah, I find that that's one thing that I take exception with.
It's
Also, looking again on your websites, you do have images of several of the trees in your collection. The majority are Japanese maples, several cultivars. I noticed that you have an Arakawa, Kashima, Sharp's Pygmy, Kiyohime maples. So it looks like, I mean, you have really fallen in love with Japanese maples.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't, right? Japanese maples are, as you know, they're beautiful. You can get highly refined winter images, right? With the very tiny buds, super detailed ramification. And as we know, they have a beautiful leaf shape. They have beautiful spring color, beautiful autumn color. There's nothing not to love about Japanese maples. So I've fallen in love with maples for many, many, many years. And I still am. So I also find with Japanese maples that they take very well, maybe not the fancy varieties, but the more, the straight Acer palmatums, they really take well to a lot of horticultural techniques. Like I just did a peg graft, and I'm sure you're familiar with
Yes.
type of. I just did a peg graft on a multi-trunk Japanese maple, and it was successful. And it's this sort of almost horticultural acrobatics that you can do with maples that maybe not so much with things like hornbeams or beech. So I like that flexibility. I like how you can really manipulate maples to fit a certain kind of vision or idea. But yeah, definitely love maples.
Good, good. But I also noticed you have other deciduous trees, Tilia cordata, which is in French, we call it a tilleul, or a linden tree in English. And that's a very common street tree in Montreal. Um, it it makes a very interesting bonsai. I know I've grown several, even sold one to Bill Valavanis, but
Mm.
Tilia maximowitsiana, a Japanese linden.
Interesting. I'm not familiar with the Japanese linden, but they like you mentioned, David. They're I mean, they take on to bonsai cultivation very, very well. Extremely hardy, extremely durable trees. I mean, and they can take hold like maybe no other deciduous tree. And it's no wonder that you guys have them in Montreal as street trees. They really
Yeah.
can take hold very, very well.
And also, I've seen you growing trees in the elm families, alcovas and elms, which are also pleasurable to work with.
Very. Yeah, I have a very large Yatsubusa elm
Yes.
that I got from actually I got from Ryan Neal back in 2000 and I think 17, and it's been such a pleasure working. It's a very, very large tree, and and the reason why I particularly gravitated to that tree was because it looked like a tree, and it didn't never look like a bonsai to me. So I absolutely love that aspect of that tree, and it's still working. Hopefully, I'll be able to exhibit that in the coming years.
Good. May I ask you how you overwinter your trees where you live in New
Sure, that's
Jersey?
a great question.
You're next to the Poconos and near the
Yeah,
mountains.
I'm still still probably about 45 minutes away from the Poconos. So not too far, but not next door. But in any case, I don't have, which is coming in the next couple of years, hopefully some sort of greenhouse or hoop house. I don't have that yet. So to answer your question directly, I've been overwintering them I have a very large garage in my house. So half of it is really taken up by trees. So I put them all in there, except some of the like alpine firs and some larger pines. I leave them outside, no problem. But all of the deciduous go inside around, late December or so.
So I do want to assure people on that note that you do work with conifers. You were talking about pines and larches and
Yeah.
subalpine firs. So you do have many coniferous species in your collection also.
Yes, I do. I enjoy very much working with them. I enjoy their deadwood and like blue spruce with wonderful deadwood and and things like of that nature. So enjoy that aspect of conifers. But there's a seasonal aspect about deciduous that I really truly enjoy, and I always sort of kind of like lean heavily. My love really is in with deciduous ultimately, but I absolutely love conifers as well.
Well, I'm glad to know that. All right. Well, look, I think this was an excellent conversation. I really enjoyed speaking to you because whenever we
Likewise.
meet, it's at national
It's
exhibitions and
we're running
it's
around.
always chaotic. We're running around like crazy.
Yes, yes.
So it's really great. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you in the spring. Again, March 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. We'll be seeing you. And if you do have time, you can always come over to my house and see my collection. You're
I
always
will,
welcome.
I will love that, David. Again, thank you so much for inviting me up to Montreal. It means a lot. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in maybe a couple of months.
That's true. Well, I'm sure our lady members will love meeting with you too. They love good-looking Latino guys. So, so it was nice speaking to you. We'll let you go, Sergio. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a good weekend. Bye-bye now.
Bye.